but I have made the top with 10 questions that I have for Kenton. And in the beginning, I want to him to say um, hello, if he is with us. Where are you, Kenton? I see it again. His boom has to be on the promoter. Sorry for these little issues.
No problem,
Okay.
Alex. I was late
Yeah.
anyway. I appreciate you on.
So is everything clear? Can you hear me good?
I can hear you very well. The question is, can everyone that's online, can they hear me okay? Yes, great. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be with everyone. Thank you for being patient. And Alex, I'm sorry that we were a little bit late, but one of the things that it takes to be successful is to never give up. And luckily, we were able to get to an internet connection. In this day and age, it's great that they're everywhere. And I'm glad that I can be with everyone. I'm excited about this technology that helps us communicate with people all over the world. It's just really an incredible time.
Yeah, we have people from all over Romania. I see from many cities and from United States, also from Hungary. It's unbelievable, actually. I'm very glad for all the people that are right now with us. And if you are okay, let's start.
Let's do it. Thank you for the introduction. And before you begin with the question, I'm very humbled to be here. I'm honored for the invitation and the opportunity to speak with everyone. And your friendship means a lot to me. I hope it's okay if I just briefly tell everyone that I met you about 10 years ago. And if I can give myself a big compliment, you reminded me of myself when I was your age. You had a lot of excitement, energy, and fire. And, I just, part of my passion in this life and one of my gifts is to see the greatness in other people that maybe we don't often see in ourselves. And I struggle seeing it in myself sometimes, but I have a gift of seeing it in others. So really humbled to be here. And for all of you that don't know me, I'm really excited about the next little while that we get to spend together. My personal goal is to leave you with some information from the experiences of my life that can help your life in some way, whether it be in the business field or your personal life, your spiritual life, your physical life, your family life. If anything that I offer is helpful for you, please let Alex know, or the person that invited you here, because that's the purpose of this, is just to give. And I don't have all the answers to all questions, but I have some life experience that we wanted to share. So we're grateful for the person that invited you and trusted us with your time, and I'm grateful for everyone for trusting Alex and trusting me with your time tonight. We'll do an incredible job for you. So thanks, Alex, for letting me say that by way of introduction.
Kenton, it's a privilege to us to have with us. And I say again, thank you for your time. I was, as already I have been speak. I have received many questions, and I just wanted to see what is the behind of all the question. And I have only 10 questions for you. You have already on your 20s being successful in the business, and the story is that you have been bankrupt actually very young. And the first question is, what didn't you take in consideration when you analyzed the business that eventually collapsed?
Oh, this is a great question, and I hope everybody doesn't mind if I give a little background about my entrepreneurial life.
Sure.
I grew up, I know a lot of you know me, and maybe this is redundant, but for those of you that are new, I grew up in a family with 6 children. My parents were school teachers growing up. They just loved teaching and sharing and growing. But before my dad married my mother, both my mother and father were very successful in their chosen fields. My mom was an executive at a telephone company. My dad jokes and says when they got married, she was earning more money than he was. But before that, my father was a very successful entrepreneur, and he owned a very successful company. And by the time we came around as children, the money had dried up and they were teaching school. So I did receive a lot of encouragement from my parents, and I was able to begin as a partner with my dad. And this is important that he was teaching us these principles. And I had my first business experience really at 14, and then I started a business at 16 that was my first successful business that I later sold when I was 21 years old. And I don't want anyone to think these are huge numbers, but they were. I did a landscaping business, Alex. I was mowing lawns and clipping bushes and shrubs, but
Yeah.
I did quite well with that business, and I was able to sell that business and then get involved in my next business, which ultimately helped me become a millionaire. And then that business failed. So that's really the context of this question. So some of you know that I was a millionaire and bankrupt twice by the time I was 27 years old. And really, I had three successes, if you consider it, because they were all teaching me what later prepared me for the life that I live today. The first business I started it and sold it successfully. The next business made me a lot more money, but ultimately what I was missing were some of the points that I know are critical to having a successful business today. I was in the wireless business. I got involved in selling cellular phones back in 1997, 1998. I had timing. I was involved in a really big expanding market. And what I missed there, I had the right product that people wanted. I didn't have to be a superstar salesperson. People were standing in line for what I was offering, which is really important. It was in the right, market industry. And I was just, I was perfectly positioned. What I was missing there, however, is number one, I didn't have the right partnerships. Even though I chose a large company to partner with, that company did not share my values. And ultimately, that company still today is considered the largest U.S. bankruptcy in the history of our country. That company was called MCI WorldCom Wireless. And some of the founders and executives that were running that business ended up in jail because they weren't honest. And I was just a distributor of their minutes. It's probably like one of your telephone companies in Europe, like T-Mobile or whatever.
Yeah.
I partnered with them, and they ultimately were dishonest with their numbers. They stole money, and they bankrupted the company and ended up in jail. But for a young entrepreneur like me, Alex, it was great. I was making a lot of money. I felt like I was doing something good, but I chose the wrong partners that did not share my business values, and they weren't thinking long term. Everybody was just thinking, hey, how can we make the most money in the shortest amount of time possible? And I can tell you, there is nothing more painful than this type of an attitude. Yes, I became a millionaire. Yes, I don't believe that I understood that the partners didn't have those values. But what did I learn from that? I learned that you have to ask that of your business partners and the people you surround yourself with. What are their values? What is important to them? Because as my dad taught me, show me your friends and I will show you your future. And your friends include your business partners, the books you read, the tapes you listen to, the music you surround yourself with, the movies that you watch. They will lead you down a path to becoming someone great, someone that's full of value to add to the world, or they could potentially destroy you. So I hope that, it happened to me twice. The second time around was a very similar thing. The company had values, the founders had values, but they didn't have the business experience. Their products weren't unique in the marketplace. They didn't have exclusivity. They didn't have the financial wherewithal. And the second time that I built a massive business, and it was, basically made me for the second time a multimillionaire, at least on paper, with my asset base. That business, the reason that it went bankrupt is because we grew too fast. I had expanded that company to Asia. We went to Japan and Korea, and we did more volume in 1 month than they had in the previous year almost, and the company just couldn't handle the growth. And as a young man, at 26 years old, I didn't know you could destroy a business by growing too fast. I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Reasons that the businesses failed, and those are lessons that I learned. Those are the two lessons. Make sure that you have the partners that share your values, and make sure that those business partners are positioned properly, they have the experience and the resources necessary to grow.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kenton. Actually, this question is very related to the second questions, because my second question is how you relate now to people who are your business partners, and what kind of expectation have from them, and what are the values that they're looking for.
Such a great question, and I want everyone to know that although I've been doing a lot of writing over my life. Someone, and I'm pretty sure it's my parents, my mom and dad were always big with this. My dad's a record keeper. My mom she writes in a journal, but my parents taught me to keep records. And in our conversations, Alex, you know that I've told you this, keep a record, write down what you're learning.
Yeah,
And
for sure, and I apply this. Be sure about that.
I hope everyone will do that, because it's like the recipe. If we're not writing down the lessons that we learn, a good friend of mine, a dear friend who just spoke in Budapest, his name's Kevin Hall. If you haven't read his book, it's a must read. It's called Aspire, Finding Your Purpose Through the Power of Words. It's forwarded by Dr. Stephen Covey, who was a business partner of Kevin's and a dear friend. Got to read that book. But Kevin Hall told me that you should always be carrying two books, one to read and one to write. And so I'm always constantly writing. And so to answer that question, I'm always developing my life philosophy, as Jim Rohn says, and I'm thinking about it. So how do I interact currently with my business partners, and what do I look for? Well, there are 5 specific things that I look for in a business partner. And then I'll tell you some of the values that fit in with these 5 things.
Right.
So, and hopefully everybody will find these helpful and maybe even write them down. Number 1 is integrity. And this is more than honesty, but it encompasses that as well. Integrity to your character, integrity to your values. That means that, my dad put it this way: what you do when the lights are off and no one else is looking is more defining of your character than what you do on stage. So right now there are a lot of people listening to what I have to say, and I can make it sound good, hopefully, and it's beneficial. But if I close the computer and then I'm a completely different person when I'm not on stage, then that means I don't have integrity, right? I'm not integrated as a whole person. And my mother-in-law is this way. Let me tell you about her. So most of you know I'm married. My mother-in-law is incredible shape. She's always taking care of herself. She eats right. When she's doing push-ups, and sit-ups and squats, and she's constantly, this is something I admire a lot about her. She's constantly doing what she says she's going to do. She's just that integrated person. So that's number 1, integrity. So important. Number 2, work ethic. And how I define this is the ability to work not only hard and consistently, but also the ability to manage that work and make it effective. These are really important skill sets. I learned this again from my parents. My dad's love language was kind of work. My mom's not afraid of hard work. We learned how to work really hard when we were younger throughout our lives. And I just believe, especially in this world, a lot of people believe that we can get rich quickly without a lot of effort, and that just never happens. It may happen fleetingly, but it's not going to last. You know this, Alex. I mean, you've been working, as long as I've known you, you're consistently working. And what does that mean? Working on effective things, like working on yourself, developing your character. And I believe this, I'll leave it at this. Well, you need to work harder on yourself than anything else, and everything else seems to work when you do that.
Yeah.
Well, that's the second thing I look for. The third thing is often misunderstood, and again, I'm going to refer to my friend's book. The word is humility, and it comes from the Latin of humus, which is this deep, dark, rich soil. So humility doesn't mean that you're weak or that you bow your head and you just are, sitting in the corner, sucking on the thumb of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Humility means that you're rich, deep, dark soil in which any idea that's good can grow. In a rich, deep, dark soil, Romania is full of it. Some of the most beautiful places in Central Eastern Europe. I'm driving through these rich fields. That's where ideas grow. This is where you can grow as a person. This is where people around you can grow. Humility offers that. If you find a group of people, they're all doing great things and growing together, you will find a group of people who are humble. They're teachable. They're open to learning. And all of you are that way. That's why you're on this webinar tonight. And that's really why I am. I always learn. I want to learn. A lot of times I get asked the questions, but I'm always learning. And it's really incredible. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing, Alex, is that I'm looking for people that are fun to be around. That means they're easy.
Yeah.
This means that, hey, they're positive. You guys know this. There are certain people. It doesn't mean that they're, in English, especially in Utah where I come from, we call them cheesy. That means that they're not really sincere. If somebody's cheesy, that's not a compliment. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about somebody that you feel good around. It's easy to be around them. This is like the word friend, it means free to be yourself. People that are positive, uplifting, they're edifying, they want to build you up, they want to build others up, and this is fun, right? They can enjoy themselves, they can laugh at themselves, they can dance when it's time to dance, be professional when it's time to be professional, but overall you enjoy being with them because anything in life takes consistent hard work and it takes a lot of time. And that means if you're going to spend time with your business partners, you ought to enjoy being around them. And number 5 is very, very important. And again, like I mentioned at the outset of the answer to this question, is that all of these life philosophies, the way that I look at life has come over years and years of thought and consideration about what I'm learning. And this 5th thing I added in 2008, I'll never forget it, because I'd helped a lot of people become successful financially, and I watched a few of them not using that financial success in a way that I would have liked to see them do it. That maybe their egos became really big, they became very forceful with other people, they were demanding respect and expecting certain things instead of earning it and humbly serving people. And so I added number 5. I want to work with business partners that want to make the world better. And here's how I define that. These people want to give back in whatever way they can, financially, with their time, serving others, teaching others, to learn something. If you learn something from this webinar today, only one thing, the way that you can give back is to apply it into your life. Another way would be to teach other people about it, share it with others. And if you share it, you have to teach it. And to really be able to teach something, it means that you've really learned it. So I'm looking for people that want to make the world better. We're involved, especially with my main business focus. We have a charity where we've been able to feed over 400 million meals. We do it to children all over the world, and we do it in classrooms. So this is what I mean by that 5th thing, which is people that really value giving back and being a person that contributes and leave the world better.
Yeah, incredible 5 points, Kenton. Thank you very much for your answer. So
yeah, you're welcome, man. I wouldn't be on this conference with you if I didn't know that you had those. That's what I like about it.
Thank you, bro. So right now, from your background also, it's a very common questions that I have been receiving on email. So I will put it this way. There is a level of sufficient attempts tested with success. After you do not feel anymore the fear of failure. So this type of idea. Yeah.
I remember reading this question. This is a very interesting question, and I think I would state it this way. Currently, at this point of my life, I know a lot of people would consider me very successful, in certain areas of my life, specifically in business and finance. You know, as an entrepreneur, I'm very successful in those respects. I like to believe I'm successful in my family. As a son, a husband, I'm, you know, working on all those things. I know I have a lot to learn. The question really that I understand, Alex, is am I still afraid of failure?
Yes, this
Yeah,
is
that does it go away after a period of time, you know? And I would say for me, it's probably different for everyone. But if I may, I'd like to highlight somebody that I admire. He's an actor, but that's not why I admire him. His name's Will Smith,
yeah,
and he and his wife and children were on the Oprah Winfrey television show, and they were being interviewed. And Oprah asked his son, "What's one of your favorite books?" And he said, "Rich Dad, Poor Dad." And
hmm,
she looked at him and said, "Wow, that's Robert Kiyosaki's book. I had Robert on my show. How did you hear about his book?" And he said, "Well, my dad gave it to me and told me I needed to read it so that I didn't grow up like him." And everybody, you know, his thought process, everybody was laughing. And Oprah looked
yeah,
at Will and said, "What the heck?" In fact, you can find this interview online. It'll do a much better job if you watch it. But
yeah,
she looked and said, "What? Are you like, why are you worried about that? I mean, you've done incredibly well." And he joked and said, "You know, not everybody's doing as well as you, Oprah, right? But not everybody's doing as financially well as you." And she looked at him and said, "Are you still worried about money?" And his wife said, "Yeah, he sleeps every night. He's afraid. You know, he's concerned." He says,
yeah,
"Yeah, I'm laying there worried about things." So if Will Smith, and I would say that he's done some incredible things with his life, if he's still a little bit afraid, then I don't mind letting everybody on this call know that I still feel that fear of failure. I speak a lot in front of large groups and small groups alike, and even to this day, after 20 years of doing it, I still am afraid. But I heard something many years ago, feel the fear and do it anyway. I actually gave a presentation called Dancing with Fear, and I think it was something I learned from Anthony Robbins. He teaches you that fear can be a great teacher. And anyway, and I'm talking about the healthy kind of fear, right? There's certain reasons we feel fear so that we keep ourselves alive, but to be honest with you, Alex, I was a little bit afraid to do this conference call tonight only because I want to do such a good job. I want to
yeah,
leave people better. I want people to know that you know, you trusted me with your name. You're introducing me to your friends and contacts and everyone on this call that's invited someone. You're trusting me. And I don't know that the words fear, I feel a deep responsibility to do a good job. So to answer that question, if Will Smith still feels a little bit of fear about failure, then it's okay because Kenton Worthington does too.
yeah,
And I don't know if it ever goes away, but for me, it hasn't. I still deal with it, but I hope everybody will remember this. Because of experience and because I've become aware of those experiences and I try to take good records, I know when I feel a certain feeling, what it feels like, and I can adjust. And usually I know that, man, I know that feeling of fear is healthy. I need to go ahead and do what I'm afraid of because it will help me grow.
yeah. So I understand from your answer. Actually, you position yourself in the front of fear uh, with the position of the teacher. Actually, you take a lot of lesson from this idea of fear.
Absolutely. And I think and let me add this last thing because of what you said. Yes, I allow fear to be my teacher, but because I know, you know, I know this, we've heard this. This is a statement in English I'm sure everyone's heard of. What doesn't kill you only makes you stronger.
Yeah,
And I remember hearing that. It sounds really cool for a gladiator movie, but the truth is, it's absolutely right. And the more that I experience those things in my life, I realize that the things that I feared the most have become my greatest teachers. So I'm not afraid of failing because I don't believe in failure. I believe in learning and experiencing, and I believe in the idea of failing forward, where if you do make a mistake, you know, like being bankrupt twice before I was 27, that also meant that I had a lot of money to lose. So I was very successful on one end, and I learned a great experience to help me in the future.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kenton. So to move forward right now, we have a question that is about success again for sure. And the question is, from your perspective, success is it due to subconscious or predestination?
Okay, so do I believe in the power of the subconscious or in predestination? So
Yes.
this, yes, okay, that's a great question. I've never been asked this question before, and for me, it's a simple answer. I do not believe in predestiny in the sense that my life has already been decided upon. I believe and know from my own experience that regardless of my circumstances, what Viktor Frankl says in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, the last great human freedom that can never be taken from me or you is the way or my attitude that I choose in any given circumstance. And that means that I have the ability to create my present state of mind and my future in every way. So I believe in something called faith, which is a powerful energy that can help you move forward, and that's based on trust and hard work and experience and all these incredible things. So that's how I look at the universe, Alex. And I think if somebody asks me, is this idea important to you? I would say that this idea of faith is one of the paramount philosophies of my life that's helped me create the life that I live today.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much, Kenton. Again, I understand from your perspective that you are responsible 100% of your failure of yours or your success.
Amen. Absolutely. You said it a lot better than I did.
Yeah, this is what I have wrote down actually right now. So the next question is almost around the previous, because the question is how you put yourself in the front of the spirituality. Actually, you think that what is the role of faith in the business and how you present yourself according to the spirituality.
Okay, so let's look at faith first because I commented on that. I believe faith, a lot of people confuse religion and faith. And so what I'm talking about is what I would consider linguistically as a verb. Faith is an action word. It means to move forward. And one of my favorite talks by a guy named Jim Carrey, who is known as an actor that plays a comedic role. He's a very funny guy. He plays kind of this slapstick comedy. He's got a great.
Everyone knows him.
Yeah, so Jim Carrey gave a speech at a graduation that was really powerful, and he said, I don't believe in hope. Hope is a beggar. I believe in faith. Hope stumbles through the fire, and faith leaps over it. So from his perspective, I think I also agree with the idea that faith is a silent confidence knowing that everything will work out, even when we make mistakes. So is that idea paramount for my success in life? Absolutely. It almost sounds, I saw an interview, you guys know who Nick Vujicic is? Such an inspiration to me. Nick's look him up online. He was born with no arms and no legs, just a little, what he calls his paddle on his right foot. He was interviewed by a Russian interviewer, and she was brutal with him. Everything positive he said, she just blasted him. You're so positive, this is that, we don't believe in that. What happens, just because you were born with all of these horrible things, people are saying that you're only successful because you have no arms and no legs. That you wouldn't be as successful as a speaker if you would have been born with arms and legs, because the reason people want to listen to you is because you have no arms and legs. She was very pessimistic, very negative, and he continued every single answer to say, I know that everything will be okay. I know. So anyway, this is a good interview if you want to go look at somebody who, in my estimation wasn't talking about religion, but the concept of a character trait and a universal principle called moving forward, knowing things will be okay, even if they're hard, even if we have to make mistakes, even if we have to fail a little bit in somebody's vocabulary to move forward. Really powerful. So the second part of your question was spirituality. And my personal belief is that we're spiritual beings, that we were created as spiritual beings, and understanding that we are much more than just this physical body, and that we will continue to grow and progress. I believe that we're here to have joy and to experience and to learn. Because think about this idea. It's one thing to learn a concept. It's one thing to understand it in your mind. It's quite another thing to experience it in real life. It's one thing for me to be able to understand what it takes for a woman to have a baby. It's quite another thing to actually experience that, something I never will, right? And this is really what I believe about life. I believe progression, growth, the acquirement of knowledge, serving other people, gathering in light. These things are all spiritual things for me. So I look at the world in a very spiritual way, and I try to separate what I look at and consider as something that is lasting, that goes beyond me, that is beyond my ego and my achievements, and is important for us to connect. And I look at that in a spiritual way. So spirituality is very important to me. Understanding who I am, why I'm here, what my purpose might be, and where I'm going, those are absolutely fundamental to who Kenton Worthington is.
Yeah, thank you, Kenton. Right now, from spirituality, we will go straight to the business because you're already all known that a very top successful businessman. That you have a business in more than 40 countries worldwide. And the question is, which region it seems most difficult to address and why?
Such a great question because it's, again, very multifaceted. I get asked this question actually a lot. And what I would say is that every area, every country, every region offers its unique opportunities and unique challenges. Certainly growing up in the United States where you can, I grew up near the West Coast. You can turn left and drive in a car for 12 straight hours to get to the West Coast, and everybody is pretty much speaking English. You can turn right and drive for, close to 38 hours and everyone will speak English. You can go straight north and the same thing, for 100 hours of driving, everybody speaks English.
Yeah.
There we don't have language barriers. The first barrier for me that I experienced was a language barrier, traveling the world, which, I speak Hungarian. I speak a little bit of a few other languages. I always joke I can get into trouble in 21 languages.
Yeah.
In 21 languages. That was an interesting barrier, but the world more and more is becoming so connected. Here we are. We probably have people from at least 10 nations on this webinar, and we're all speaking, and hopefully understanding what I'm sharing in English. I feel quite blessed that I speak English. So I don't know that I'm answering that question because it would be so long to tell you. I just came back from Southeast Asia, for instance.
Yeah.
Vietnam, Thailand are neighboring nations, okay? And they are vastly different languages, vastly different philosophical basis, vastly different approach to business life. Let me give you an idea about Vietnam. I've done a lot of business in Central Eastern Europe. The difference between Romania and Hungary, you cannot even, it's just, we could have a whole conference call. The differences between the nations in Southeast Asia, South America, I could talk for hours about the differences. But let me tell you how I focus and approach my business because I think it'll be good for the people that are listening here.
Yeah.
I look for similarities. I look for connection, ways to connect. And if anyone knows me very well, they know that that's one of my gifts. I'm a connector of people. I immediately am looking for a way to connect myself to people or for them to connect with other people that I know. And this, I was at a presentation. Many of you know that I met President Clinton, former United States President Clinton, at a fundraiser that he was speaking at. I was able to donate some money and I'll be able to spend a day with him. I haven't done that yet. I can if I choose to. But his speech that night was exactly about what I'm trying to address. He said most of the world is arguing and fighting over the difference when it's really mathematically 0.00, and he gave a number. It was a very minute number that makes us different. He said that difference should be the beauty of the tapestry that we celebrate, and we should be looking for ways to connect in our similarities, which is where I found a lot of business success, connecting with what we find in common with others. Every country I go to, Alex, the first thing people say to me, the first thing, well, that kind of business is not going to work here because we're different in this country. I hear that everywhere I go.
Yeah.
And I always get a big smile on my face. Oh, that won't work here because we don't like American stuff. Or, that won't work here because we're different. And so then I look at them and I say, yes, you are. And it's incredible. And I love all the wonderful differences that I'm seeing. But may I ask you a question? Yes. Do you have goals and dreams? Yes, I do. Are you afraid sometimes? Yes. Do you enjoy learning? Yes. Do you, have a mother or a father? Or if you didn't, do you wish you did? Do you have brothers and sisters? Do you have a family? Do you want something better for your children than you had? And universally, if I focus on the similarities, that things that bring us together, that light people up, then this is one of my, I believe, one of my great, and I hate saying secrets of success, but this is one of the great principles upon which I've built my successful life and business, and that's finding the similarities throughout the world. So every nation has a difference, every nation has its own challenges, but I've been able to overcome those by focusing on the similarities and then attracting people that can help us work through the challenges. And I always know there's an answer. So, I've done business in, like you've said a few times, I have customers or business partners in more than 40 countries around the world. I've done significant one-on-one or, significant business in, more than a dozen where I've lived and worked and traveled and tried to speak the language and hired translators and, all of these different things that I've had to do to be successful in those markets. And without question, bringing people together, focusing on values and principles, and then working together as a team, leaning on other people's experience and expertise to help me figure out how to do it in Vietnam, for instance, because it is different there. It's a different government, it's a different pay system, but guess what? Because I was attracted to people that were looking for the same kind of values that I have and I want to progress and grow in my life, those people then in turn have helped me overcome the concerns in that market that were new to me, the new challenges or new fears or things I didn't understand. I know that was a really long answer for that question, but I hope it was valuable to everybody.
Yeah, so can I understand from your answer that the key to your success, if I can resume only to one principle, is the ability to connect with people?
I would highlight that it's the ability to connect through people by focusing on our similarities or what we have in common. So maybe you could distill it this way, because a lot of people believe I'm a connector. Maybe my ability to connect people is that I have a general love of people and I love to find out about people and see what we have that's similar and potentially different as well. So I don't know if I would say it's really that I'm a connector. I believe that's helpful for sure.
Yeah.
But I would say that I don't know actually. Alex, to put your success into one word is very hard, but definitely connecting people and focusing on similar values and principles would be a one-liner that could work.
Mm-hmm. Let's discuss a little bit about the period when the things was actually against you. The common question again was how you motivate yourself when everything around you is against you. We feel that nothing is working and you're working hard and nothing is really making sense on the market. How you motivate yourself, how you put your mind in the straight line.
I love the question because it's already led us forward. Number one, I believe in self-motivation. That means that it's my responsibility, we've already talked about it, to find a purpose to be motivated, right? To have a goal, to be clear on my vision. And in those days when my goal just wasn't even interesting, And I have to tell everybody the most difficult time of my life has been in the last number of years when my finances have not been interesting to me because I didn't need money, right? Money was a big driver for me for about 15 years. And when money was no longer an issue, it was more difficult for me to find a purpose. And I had a lot of goals that were interesting to me, but they weren't driving me. So number one is to find a deep purpose that really drives you. And if you can't, and I have had a hard time with that, people that have been around my life for the last few years know that that was missing for me. Here's what I've learned. You have to rely on, let's say, a routine, okay? I'm going to call it a routine, and I like this because if I rely on a routine, then I know just by doing those things, ultimately, the desired result will follow. And this is the idea of sowing and reaping, right? Planting the seeds, continually planting and watering, as long as I create a routine. So when I've been the most successful, I have a really specific routine that I do, specific music. You know this, I actually emailed this to you. I said, hey, put on my favorite song, which is a
Yeah,
Gladiator.
I put it, but it wasn't online at that moment.
So I had a daily ritual. There's a new book. I've seen a lot of this movie, you know, the Magic Mornings, I think is what it's called. Somebody talked about that. I've been teaching this for 20 years about having a morning routine or a morning ritual that puts you in a mindset where you can actually connect with this incredible subconscious or superconscious mind, or just your inner self, your insight, which is looking inward for those answers. And that includes, uplifting, high resonance music. I love classical music. I love all kinds of music, but I have a certain type of music I listen to connect with that energy. Listening to really motivational material. I have a 1 hour motivational video that I like to connect with on YouTube. I love this world right now. Everything's free. I can get the best information immediately through the internet for free, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Reading the best books, talking with positive people, getting out, just just getting out and actually moving, getting some sunshine on your face. I've struggled. I really have, serving people. So what did I do when I'm struggling? I'm in the middle of the greatest struggle of my life. I thought it was hard when I was bankrupt the second time at 27, sleeping on my parents' floor. But I found it much harder to be a multimillionaire, flying first class, having the biggest, menu available to me in the world. Any day that my wife and I wanted to do something, we could get on a plane, we could drive a car, we could go to the best hotel, fly in the best airplanes, we could buy whatever we wanted. And that proved to be the most difficult challenge so far in my life, to not have to worry about money and to stop doing the daily routine that helped me become successful. And so now I'm back doing that, exercising my mind and my body, connecting spiritually, trying to listen to the right things. This is how I do it. And it is definitely a battle. I got to be honest with everyone. You have to be diligent about doing those things, planting those seeds on a daily basis. Otherwise, you'll wake up one day and your garden will be dead. You have to be doing it every single day.
Yeah. Good.
So
Yeah, sure. Sorry, Kenton.
no, go ahead. I was actually just going to make a comment about, just my physical. I mean, this is really important. As long as I'm taking care of my physical body, I do much better in everything else. And that just may only be me. But if I take care of my physical first, I believe that this physical and spiritual are so deeply connected and so interconnected that as long as I'm taking care of my physical first, then I'm able to be open to spiritual things. I've learned some meditation, and I have a lot of things that I want to learn. I'm really excited. I'm planning on spending a lot of time with some mentors in the next 12 months and learning more on how to connect. I heard you guys had Robin Sharma in Romania recently.
Was in Bucharest 1 week ago, yes.
Oh man, I mean, this is somebody I've never met, but I plan on meeting him personally. I will be mentored by him. I will work with him. This is another belief that I have. Anyone in this world that you want to meet or work with or interact with, you can, and I will. He's incredible. Some of the things that he says, I've spent time been mentored with a lot of incredible people, and I plan on doing more. So there you go.
Yeah. So when you are in deep problems, I understand that you raise your mental attitude, doing exercise, listen some good music, raise up your energy, and then start doing again.
Yep, I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins' stuff that you change your physiology first and your psychology will follow. I learned that from Tony. It's
Yeah,
very effective for me. It may not be effective for everyone, but it's been incredibly, serving for me over my life.
yeah. We are almost done with the 10 questions. One of the last is, what are your values, Kenton?
What are my values? Well, I actually have a big list, and we could talk hours about it, but let me give you my basic few. Number one is faith, and this is the way I connect spiritually. We've already talked a lot about it. Number
Yeah,
two, and these aren't in order of value. These are not, because I can't order value. And, we don't compare. Something I learned from Natalie, we don't compare. So faith, family, the way that I connect with my family, that is very important to me. I value family and faith above almost everything. Well, they're really incredible. Those are very important to me.
yeah,
Fitness, and I talked about why,
yeah,
because my spiritual and mental seems to be very closely connected with that, and then my friends. And I'm trying to be more focused these last few years on family, and I'm thinking a lot, and even Natalie, my wife, we were talking yesterday about how we want to be better friends. And so those would be four core values that I focus on. And the five things that I shared with you that I look for a business person, we could talk about those as being values, but they're more character traits
yeah.
that I come from, that I believe come from focusing on your values. So those are four things that I really, and then I have a friend in Vietnam, one of my business partners that taught me this, that he said, after you focus on those four things, you can successfully focus on your fortune. He said, I value my building my fortune. And I have to tell everybody, I've been rich and I've been poor. You're going to have problems in either situation, but I've found that it's a lot easier to deal with them when you have the financial resources to do it. And
Yeah.
I believe that we have a responsibility in this abundant world that we live in to acquire those financial and intellectual and spiritual and physical resources so that we can lift up and lean down and pull others up, and sometimes push each other up, and sometimes just help each other up. I think it's really important that we do that. So I hope I answered that question, but those are a few of my core values.
Yeah, actually, someone type on the chat. You can also see only values starting with F: faith, family, fitness, friends. It's a good point.
Yeah,
Congratulations. Yeah. Okay. So the last, and fortune, of course.
and fortune, but I think I'm taking that one from my from my business partner in Vietnam. We laughed
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
hard.
Only F. So value that starts with F. Okay. Good
Then
point.
we debated for an hour whether or not having a fortune is a value, and I realized at some level it's very valuable, especially if you desire to share it with others and you can make the world better. So anyway, I value having nice things. Let's be honest. I love to have nice things.
For sure. I believe all of us want that. Now, the last question is, I believe, the most personal question. It's very deep about you. What is your personal mission, and after what period of time you have no clear what is your mission?
My personal mission and purpose is to help breathe life into the godlike character that exists in other people. What that means to me is that I desire to breathe life into the goals, the dreams, the abilities, and the values of everyone around me. And this is what lights me up. I literally exist to make other people know that they're, they were created for a purpose, that they're an unrepeatable miracle, that they are important. Them showing up and being, who they are in their greatest sense, having the courage to try and move forward, even though we're all afraid of failure at times. That's what I want to do with my life. And I believe the reason I focus so much on making money, if I can comment on this, I saw a lot of pain associated with not having money. I see a lot of people in my life that I know and love that are so consumed by how they're going to pay the rent or how they're going to buy the food or pay the bills that they're not using their mental and spiritual and physical power on answering bigger questions that you know, like, why am I here? How can I serve others? How can I make people better? You know, here you and I were 1 month ago, and you got on the phone with me and we talked about this. I think it's been a month ago, right, Alex, that you said, hey,
Almost, yeah, almost 1 month, 3 weeks ago, actually.
and if we would have been talking about, hey, how can I pay my bills? I'm broke and I don't know what to do. It wasn't that discussion. It was, how can we help more people? How can
Yes.
we touch more lives? And that's the discussion that led to this conference webinar, which I hope for all of you. I'm totally humbled that you gave me an hour out of your night to listen to me, and I hope that I'll be invited back to listen to many of you. And maybe I'll read your book. Maybe I'll hear about your success story. I'm absolutely convinced. I see some of the names here I know already. They're doing great things. And you too, Alex, you know how much I think of you and the greatness that I know exists in you, the people's lives that you're going to touch, just like everyone else on this call. So humbled and grateful to be able to be with you tonight. And please, if I may, Alex, anybody that's on this call, I've never done this before, but I would like to. If what I've said or shared has been helpful for you, would you mind going to my Facebook page and posting it? Just, hey, if I said something that was helpful, Kenton, I liked this, or Kenton, I liked that. If you would post it on my Facebook page, I'd appreciate it, because I have been having a rough time these last few years. And I think it's important for me, just like each one of us, to know that we matter and that showing up in a big way in this world is important for other people. And then I'd ask you to do one other thing. If you do that for me, I'd ask you to do that for yourself and someone around you, someone else in your life, someone that maybe you haven't thanked in a long time. Just let them know that them showing up in your life is important to you. And I think that if we all do that, that tomorrow the world will just be a little bit better and we just keep moving forward. So Alex, thanks again for the trust that you gave me tonight and for your questions and everyone's questions. I hope that we get to do it more often. And I hope that I get a chance to meet you and some of the audience somewhere as I travel the world.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe we will schedule a meeting in Bucharest or somewhere in Romania, and we will do a big event with you.
Thank you. So I would love to invite me sometime. Get with your with the leaders there, friends there, business partners there. I would be honored to come. And actually, I want to give you an idea for those of you listening. We just
Yeah.
had my friend Kevin Hall, who just spoke, and I have another friend named Chad Hymas, who is an incredible author and speaker. He's a quadriplegic. He doesn't have a lot of life left, and I want to bring them here, and I'd love them to come to Romania. So you guys talk about it. We'd love to come, the three of us,
Good.
sometime.
So yeah, we will discuss about that, Kenton, and we will do a big event about this. Will be great. Good, great news, actually.
Thanks again for everything, okay? Have a wonderful night.
I want to say thank you very much, Kenton, for your time. I'm sure that only one of your questions inspires someone on this night. I also put this video on YouTube, this conference, and I hope this type of information will help people to become better. Because what I have learned from you is that we are incredible. We have been created for greatness, and with the person like you are, actually we can become a better person. Thank you very much, Kenton. I want to congratulate all of you that have been here with us. Have a good night. Thank you again, Kenton.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
God bless you.